We are going to learn how to do something new. And it's one of my favorites, actually, on drums, and that is something called parallel compression. So just jump into it. There's going to be a couple points in here that I want you to pay attention to and be prepared to respond. Of course, do as I do. So we have our drum mix, more or less. What I'm going to do is create a new stereo aux input track. And I know that we have done a lot with reverb on auxes, delays on auxes, but there are really so many purposes. We're going to call this Drum Crush. And the idea behind this is that we are going to really pound this track, or this send with return, technically, with compression. So first thing, I'm going to set the input to a bus that's not being used. 5/6 is not being used. Let's see if today my quick keys will work. Nah. Okay. There's a couple different approaches to doing this. First approach is to send everything, the entire drum kit. Because we have our drums going through a routing folder, we can simply send the routing folder to bus 5 and 6. I'm going to bring this up to unity, which is 0. Option click. I'm going to put it into pre, which means pre-fader, which basically means that I can change the volume of the mix, but the overall send volume is going to be unaffected by these faders or this one. It will be affected by these, but not this one. This is also going to allow us to listen to the aux without hearing the drums. Okay, so pre stands for pre-fader. So right now, this is just a second version, a second copy of the drum track. So if I mute this, I'm sorry, not mute that, I am hearing the drums on this aux. So it's basically just another route, another submix. But on this one, I'm going to insert a dynamics processor. I'm going to use the BF76. Now, this is an 1176 emulation. Very important. Attack on this is backwards or counterintuitive, meaning 1 is the slowest attack, 7 is the fastest attack. And for this, I'm going to go with fast attack. And I'll explain why and why not. And I'll leave kind of the release about medium. Let's see. So, is this getting over there? It is. But I'm not seeing. There we go. So what we're hearing now is just the compressed drums. Okay? I'm going to bring that down to nothing. I'm going to play my drum track, and I'm going to start bringing this into taste. So the whole idea, again, is that we are really crushing this drum track with compression. That is limiting the dynamic range. It's really giving us more consistency across the drums, including the cymbals, snare, kick, all of the drums. And we are looking for a fair amount of compression, so I'm going to go ahead and knock this. By a good 6-7 dB. right, so it's not just adding volume, because what we're doing is we're blending in this compressed signal. Now, why might we, what the difference would be, a couple different variations on this theme. That is parallel compression, okay? A couple variations. By having a super fast attack, we are compressing the transients. So we're not letting those drum transients through, and that's giving us a more consistent but compressed drum sound. If we slow the attack down and let those transients through, we should get more punch to it. Listen to the kick and snare. All right, so a bit slower attack is going to give us more transient, and a faster attack is going to give us more consistency across what we're blending in. One last thought. Instead of sending the whole drum kit, sometimes what we'll do is we will take what some people refer to as the shells. Essentially, the drums themselves, no overheads, no cymbals, just the close mic'd drums. I'm also not sending the sub kick in this instance. So what we would do is from here, we'd go ahead, bus 5 and 6, and I'm holding Option and Shift so that I'm getting all of these at once. Now, what that does is that gives us the benefits of this blended, compressed sound without bringing out the cymbals, because sometimes when you compress heavily, cymbals can just get really loud. It can add sustain to the cymbals, something that we may not like. So just some different thoughts. So parallel compression is essentially compression on an aux. In addition, it's blended into your overall sound. You can do this with vocals. You can do it with a lot of things. Very, very common with drums. In fact, it's called the New York sound. The faster the attack, the more consistent this blended sound is going to be, this compressed sound. The slower the attack, more transient, more punch. Send the whole drum kit, get a particular sound. Send just the shells, get another sound. There you go. Parallel compression. There are also, just for a trivia note, there are some compressors that have dry-wet mixes, which is essentially give you the option of like a mix knob, dry-wet, wet-dry, of doing parallel compression without having to use an aux. I actually like the aux. I have always liked it. There you go.